Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to earnings conference call to discuss operational and financial performance for Q2 FY22 of Precision Camshaft Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. Today, we have with us on the call Mr. Karan Shah, Whole-Time Director, Business Development, and Mr. Ravindra R. Joshi, Whole-Time Director and CFO. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Karan Shah. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you all for being a part of this Precision Camshaft's Q2 FY 2021-2022 earnings con call. I'll start with an overview of the automotive industry and then get to the company's performance. The automotive industry has been going through some very difficult times, starting with the COVID pandemic, and more recently the supply shortages on semiconductors and higher commodity prices. This has put pressure on the global automotive OEMs and all ancillary businesses, including ours. While experts predict that the constraints on the supply chain should ease by the end of next year, it would be difficult to predict when things would actually get back to normal. Throughout these difficult times, we continue to take care of our employees and our facilities around the world to ensure the highest levels of safety and also ensure readiness for customer demand. I'm happy to share that despite these challenging times, your company has delivered a 17.8% growth in revenues at a standalone basis and a 16% growth in revenues at a consolidated level compared to Q2 of the previous financial year. Beyond the growth in top line, your company has delivered a 16% PAT at a standalone level and a 9.33% PAT at a consolidated level despite all the above mentioned challenges. Just to give you an absolute numbers, the company has delivered profit after tax on a consolidated basis of rupees 21 crores in just this quarter compared to a consolidated PAT of 2 crores in the entire 21. The management of the company has taken major steps with cost control in these times while also focusing on the growth of the business. The parent business, PCL India, has stabilized over the last year, posting consistent results and growth in top line as well. PCL has been awarded several new businesses over the last 2 years, which will help in position. As informed in the 29th annual general meeting of the company, PCL has won new business from Ford of USA, Renault Nissan India, Kia Motors India, Tata Motors, Fiat Europe, Jaguar Land Rover, and Royal Enfield over the last 2 years. These businesses will fructify to max volumes in the coming 2 years. The company has also started work on setting up a 15 megawatt captive solar plant, which will further insulate the company from growing power costs in the future. In summary, PCL India as a parent company continues to enjoy healthy margins and is poised for growth in the coming years. Coming to Memco, the company has seen consistent demand in the last 4 to 5 months owing to the pent-up demand in the CV market in India. This, along with some new business development from customers, has helped the company achieve circa 20% EBITDA margin in this quarter. Our objective at Memco is to diversify our product portfolio as well as customer base going forward. Significant measures to reduce costs have also been taken place at Memco, including the commencement of a rooftop solar plant installation. Now coming to our group company MFT, which is based in Germany. The company has seen stabilization of business during these difficult times. However, we still see challenges ahead due to the increasing COVID situation in Europe as well as the long-lasting impact of the semiconductor shortages. The new management team at MFT will steer the company to better times in the coming years. In summary, the group's automotive component business is now well diversified in terms of product as well as customer base, wherein no single customer contributes to more than 23% of revenues, and the automotive component business is showing consistent growth in top line and in margins. Now, based in the Netherlands. So,
sorry to interrupt. Your voice is breaking.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
What was the last that was heard? Should I?
So just the last statement.
Okay. As in now coming to our e-mobility subsidiary EMOS, based in the Netherlands, the company has registered significant growth in business over the last 2 years. Since we have completed the 100% acquisition of the company in July 2020, we have focused the business on addition of new customers and technologies to the company. While the traditional business of retrofitting medium and heavy commercial vehicle continues, we now look forward to an exciting new journey as we partner with several niche OEMs across Europe to provide them with ready-to-assemble electric driveline kits. The company EMOS has posted a top line of circa 45 crores in Q2 of FY22 compared to revenues of circa 36 crores in Q2 of 21. The company, ladies and gentlemen, for the very first time has posted a positive EBITDA margin of 10% and a PAT margin of 7.5% for Q2 of FY22. All the exceptional hits taken on the balance sheet pertaining to the previous financial year were completed in Q1 of FY22, and all this is behind us now. We now look forward to a very exciting and a promising journey ahead at EMOS. To tell you a little bit about the e-mobility drive in India, over the last 1 year, the company has retrofitted a mid-size passenger bus into a 100% electric bus in India. This vehicle is a major milestone for the PCL Group as the electric driveline was designed and developed in the Netherlands but built ground up in India. The company has already localized 60% of the electric driveline in the very first, further indigenized in the upcoming vehicles. The team in India has also grown from just 2 to a size of 8 full-time personnel working on electrification now. On the October 18th of 2021, the management of the company had the opportunity to present its e-bus and other electrical vehicles to the government of Maharashtra. Shri Sharad Pawar, President of NCP, Shri Uddhav Thackeray, Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Shri Ajit Pawar, Honorable Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Shri Aditya Thackeray, Shri Sanjay Pandey, Shri Ashish Kumar Singh, Shri Avinash Dhakne, and other officials were present at this meeting and gave the management a very patient hearing. The honorable audience appreciated all the work done by PCL and EMOS and would further engage in discussions once more vehicle data is available from our side. The company also signed an MOU with the Solapur Municipal Corporation on the 3rd of November 21 to provide SMC with 3 fully homologated electric light commercial vehicles on a free of cost returnable basis. The vehicles will be provided to SMC by the end of 2022. Based on a successful outcome and final validation of these trial vehicles, SMC would float an e-tender on them as per the pilot vehicle specifications for additional vehicles. These vehicles will be used for waste collection application within the city. Solapur Municipal Corporation itself has 250 such vehicles, and the numbers would be multi-fold across Maharashtra and India. The various meeting officials give the company great confidence in the future of its e-mobility offerings in India. While the company hopes to grow the India business in the coming 3 to 4 years, our focus very much remains on the European market where the demand is consistently growing and we see great visibility in the order position till 2023 and beyond. I thank you now for joining this call, and I will hand over to Mr. Ravindra Joshi, our Director and CFO, for providing financial updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Irvej Karan, for giving brief detail about our company features and everything. Now I will go to the financials. First, I will brief about the PCL. PCL sales for the first half year is 213.58 crores. In this, export is 114.48 crores and domestic 99.22 crores. EBITDA is 21%, PAT is 14.3%, loan component is 37.31 crores, these are only of working capital, and we have kept the bank deposit of 40.58 crores in the bank, and mutual funds 207.08 crores. So totally 250 crores we have kept in the bank as investment and deposit. And we have given a corporate guarantee of 55 crores to Bank of Baroda UK and 20 crores to Citibank for the loans taken. Now next company is Memco. Memco sales is 23.93 crores. This is I'm talking about the first half year up to September. EBITDA is 21.8%, PAT 11.8%. Working capital loan is 3 crores. Term loan 4.11 crores. And we have kept the mutual fund out of the generations to tune of 9 crores. Now we are coming back to the MFT. MFT sale is 87.08 crores, EBITDA 10.7, PAT minus 1.84, working capital 21.64 crores taken from the bank, and term loan 46.28 crores taken from the bank. And EMOS 94.33 crores, EBITDA 3.22 crores, PAT 0.35%, working capital nil, bank loan nil. Now coming back to the total loan components, PCL India has got 37.31%. I am talking about the group. PCL NL that is taken for the acquisition of the company, it is 29.9 crores. MFT 67.92 crores. Total 139 crores, including working capital. Now future investment. As Karan has already briefed about it. Solar power project. PCL India has initiated installing its own power plant with a capacity of 15 megawatts for captive consumption. Considering the continuous increase in the power cost of electricity, the total cost of the project will be around 56 crores, wherein the PCL will be saving approximately 9 crores per annum on power cost. And also there is a benefit of income tax. Now we are going to set up a green sand plant in Solapur for the investment of 22 crores, wherein the resin coated sand cost will be reduced substantially. And induction hardening, companies propose to invest into induction hardening equipment to support the requirement of the induction hardening camshaft for Maruti Suzuki. They said investment would be around 20 crores. The Memco, the company, has initiated installing the rooftop project. The cost of the project would be around 1.6 crores, and the company will be saving around 4 lakhs per month, 48 lakhs per annum. The MFT, no investment is proposed as we are expecting a fully utilization of the expanded capacity in machine shop. And EMOS, there is no capital investment required, only additional space is required, which is available on rent for additional business. Now I will tell you about the reason for EBITDA. The PCL there is an impact on EBITDA on PCL financials due to abnormal expenses like foreign exchange loss incurred in Q2 and exchange loss during the first quarter, the resettlement of loan given to PCL and the cost of major raw material is also one of the reasons for a decrease in EBITDA margin. Memco, due to increase in raw material cost, the EBITDA margin for Q2 has decreased from 23 to 20%. MFT, yes, there is abnormal income of 32 crores has been received as tooling for development of balance sheet for PCL. Hence, the EBITDA shows increase to 12.26% from 9.25% as compared to Q1. EMOS, the EBITDA for Q2 stood at 9.97% when compared to 11%. The major reason for decrease in EBITDA is due to decrease in revenue because of semiconductor issue. And one more thing I want to highlight here is that PCL has recognized the intangible asset while acquiring three subsidiaries. These intangible assets are amortized over a period of 7 years. The amount of such amortization is around 16 to 17 crores per annum in the consolidated financials of PCL India. This is just a notional entry and no cash flow is involved. Right now we have already we have already taken a hit of 56 crores in over a period of 3 to 4 years. Now only 30 to 40 crores remaining there, which is up to 22-23. This is from my side, and now anybody can ask questions on this.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, you may press star and one to ask a question. The first question is from the line of Yash Agarwal from JM Financial Services. Please go ahead.
Hi, and congrats on a good set of numbers. Our first question is on the standalone business. So what was the utilization of the standalone business in the second quarter, and how do we see it going ahead? We've been hearing that from December onwards, Toyota and all these global PV majors have guided for record production. So how's the order book looking, and how do we see our utilization panning out in the third and the fourth quarter?
Presently, our capacity utilization, in second quarter is 56% as cost. Machine 56%, as cost 64%. In future, machining camshaft will increase to 65%, and as cost may go up to 70%. This underutilization is only because of the semiconductor issues.
So that increased utilization will be in the third quarter itself, or
again depends on the semiconductor issue. If it increases,
it's very, very difficult to answer that question because we have no clarity at this point of time based on how the COVID and the semiconductor situation continues to play out. So I think we have to be patient and watch. In terms of readiness, we are ready to cope with additional demand whenever there is, but at this point of time, very difficult to say what the utilization will be in the next quarters.
But it would be better from what it was in the second quarter, right? I mean, is that something which
we hope
getting
so.
better day by day?
We hope so.
And my second question is on EMOS. So, I think I heard correctly. Did semiconductor issue impact the revenue number for the second quarter? Was it right?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
In EMOS, was there any supply side challenges which impacted the revenue, or this was a normalized quarter for EMOS?
Fairly normal quarter, but I think there is a slight, perhaps a very small dip in top line compared to Q1, and that's purely because in the month of August, most of Europe is on summer vacation, and a lot of the production as well as demand is reduced in August, which is why you see a slight dip perhaps. But I think this is very normal at this time of the year. Other than that, I think we have some supply chain constraints due to the semiconductor shortages, but I think we are trying to manage this in the best way we can.
And have you got any orders from the Indian market for EMOS?
No orders so far. No.
Okay.
We are still in the process of development, so we are not looking at saying that we are pushing for orders right now, but want to make sure that the product that we get to the market is of the highest quality, the most reliable one, and one that actually works.
And we are operating at an annualized revenue run rate of 180 crore or something in EMOS at the moment. So what do you feel, or what is conservatively a guidance for FY23 or maybe 2 years down the line? How much could EMOS scale up to in your assessment?
Yes, I can't answer that, so I'm sorry, but I can't provide you with forward-looking numbers. Sorry.
Sure. No worries. My last question is, what was the total one-off component of one-off expenses in the EBITDA in the first quarter on a consolidated basis? Just the one-off components that we spoke about.
Jyoti sir, if you can answer this.
I'm not able to understand his question, Karan.
Were there any one-off expenses in quarter 2 at a consolidated level, and if there were any, can you please let him know?
So again, I told you now, because of the foreign exchange loss, the EBITDA has come down. You see, normally
what is the amount? What is the amount? I just want to know the amount, total amount.
Total amount is 3.32 crores.
Okay, about 3.5 crores, right?
3.5 crores, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, you may press star and one to ask the question. The next question is from the line of Faisal Hawa from HG Hawa and Company. Please go ahead.
So, sir, since our capacity utilization is down due to the semiconductor shortage, have we tried at all in the export markets if some material could be sold, and there is steel is cheaper in India, so that differential also could probably work in our favor.
If I can answer this, we are of almost 60% of our business is exports anyway. We are supplying to all major OEMs around the world, and it's not a product that we do. Camshafts is not something that we can start supplies or development at short notice like this. It typically takes 2.5 years to develop a camshaft that goes into a vehicle. So I think at this point of time, just as all other ancillary and automotive companies are facing some heat due to the semiconductor shortages, I think we have to be patient in getting through this because I think one thing is there that there will be pent-up demand because of the shortages right now, and we hope that in the coming year that there will be increase across the globe, not just India.
Do you feel that any cost-cutting measures could be taken, and have we taken any such measures?
Absolutely. A lot of cost-cutting measures have been taken place, which is why we see the increased margins despite the flat revenue. So if you look at the additional solar power plants that we are putting up to reduce expenses, Mr. Doshi explained regarding the green sand plant that we would intend to put up to reduce sand costs. There are some certain cost-cutting initiatives taking place across all the companies. So for sure, this is being done to protect margins. Thank you so much.
Faisal, do you have any follow-up question?
No, my questions are answered.
Thank you. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Shubham Jain, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, Karan. Congratulations for a fantastic set of numbers in Q2. I had a couple of questions. One is, last time I had asked you, we were trying to shift away from the camshaft business into other precision components business, which will be non-automotive. It has been a quarter, and if some work has started on that, and I wanted to just check with you on this because we wanted to see what percentage of revenue start growing from the non-automotive business, which we are planning to start. Second is on EMOS. You had also said that there will be some amount of components for the EMOS vertical, which will be now starting to get exported out of India. You will be basically developing those components here in India and then exporting out to Netherlands to reduce the cost further and increase the margins there in the European markets for EMOS business. So I wanted to know if there are any updates on these 2 points.
Yeah. I think on both fronts there is a lot of work going on. I can't explain all the details on this call because we're working with a lot of customers to develop this. Obviously, we only spoke about this last quarter, so I can't give it in 3 months. But I think, as we said, we have a plan at PCL to have at least 20-25% of revenues coming from non-camshaft business by 2025, and we are very much on track to look at such a target. We are working with several customers to develop products that are, in fact, non-engine related. So I think good progress going on there. As far as EMOS is concerned, a lot of trials, validation processes going on in terms of localization and seeing how gross margins at EMOS can be improved. But regardless, I think as EMOS, as the company grows, we have better leverage to negotiate with our suppliers. We have better cost improvement opportunities in EMOS itself at this point of time, which is why you see the company has posted a positive profit after tax for the very first time since we have acquired it. And I think this speaks great volumes about the business development side and the cost side of things. And I think we're very proud to have this the results that we have posted this time, and I think we can only improve from here on out.
Sure. And as a follow-on question, do we envisage the semiconductor issue having impact on the EMOS revenues in the months to come, or we are relatively well insulated from the semiconductor issue at EMOS at least?
I wouldn't say it's fully insulated. There are certain challenges in the supply chain. As of now, we are managing them as best as we can. and we don't see any immediate effects on revenues in the coming months or quarters. But if the situation gets worse, of course, it will start affecting us. But we only hope that it is getting eased out from here on.
Thank you, Karan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Sudhir Padiyar from Consultant Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi, Karan. Many thanks for taking my query. I had a couple of questions focused around EMOS. Okay. So one is, are there any laws or regulatory provisions which actually prohibit easy launch of retrofit electric kits in the passenger vehicle segment?
You mean in India?
Yeah, in India. Or can anyone actually launch a retrofit kit, electric kit?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. If you can please repeat it. Are you saying that are there any regulatory provisions to restrict the retrofitting? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, can anyone actually launch a electric retrofit kit in India, or are there regulatory approvals which are required for anyone to launch a retrofit kit?
No. Of course, there are regulatory approvals required. As in the case of our first bus that we have retrofitted here in India, we did this in close cooperation with the Automotive Research Association of India, which is a regulatory body, comes under the Ministry of Heavy Industries as well as Road and Transport. So there is a lot of regulatory process. There is a lot of component level testing, vehicle level testing, safety testing, a lot of bench testing that has to happen before a kit can be approved by ARAI to be fitted onto a vehicle. So I think one of the good things is a lot of these steps have been done by us already for a specific type of vehicle. So we know the process fairly well. So going forward, when we are doing new types of vehicles, new type of kits, we know exactly what the expectation is from the regulatory body. But it's not that somebody can come in tomorrow and buy the same components that we do and supply a kit. That's not possible.
Okay. And just pardon my ignorance, Karan, but are these regulations also applicable to all other automotive segments? For example, 3-wheelers, 2-wheelers, passenger cars.
Every car, or let's put it, every vehicle that is driven on Indian roads has to go through this process, which is basically called homologation. And the homologation process is done at ARAI or similar institutes across India.
Okay. Because a general surf online actually shows a couple of retrofit companies actually in 2-wheeler, 3-wheelers, and other things.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just wondering. So what kind of competitive intensity do we envisage for our company, for EMOS in particular?
So I think this is a very nascent industry. There are very few people in India doing this. Some are doing it well, some are starting out. I think what we bring to the table, or what we bring differently, is the tremendous experience that EMOS has over the last 10 years working on electrification of commercial vehicles. So one of the presentation mentioned that we have about 600 vehicles that we have developed electrified till now, and these 600 vehicles have driven more than 100 million miles total. So that's the amount of data that we have to basically say how do we quickly deploy that data and that experience in the India context, make sure that the supply chain is from India to be cost competitive in India, and bring a high quality product to the market. So I think we do have certain, let's put it like this, a head start. And I think that the industry is very small right now, and I think there is room for everybody to grow right now.
Okay. And one last question. Okay, so obviously I hear you that 60% of your production is already kind of indigenized, and you plan to indigenize the balance also in the next couple of quarters. But at what price point in your assessment would Indian consumers be ready to kind of take the retrofit kits actually?
I think it's not the price point. It's about the ROI, right? So if you think about a vehicle which you convert into electric, and if you can recover that additional investment, whatever it might be, right? It might be 10 lakhs or 50 lakhs or 90 lakhs, depending on the type of vehicle and the type of range that you're looking for. As long as the customer has the opportunity to recover this money in 2, 3, 4 years, then it becomes a very, very attractive option for a customer, because at the end of that recovery period, you're saving tremendous amount of money for the rest of the life of this vehicle. So I can't tell you a number right now to convert this type of vehicle it will cost so much, or to convert this type of vehicle it will cost so much, because we've done one, right? So it's very hard to say how the next 100 or the next 1,000 will look like. But of course, we are very much aware of the cost competitiveness that is required for the Indian market, which is why all further vehicles that we are developing, especially on the LCV side, which is used for last mile transport, we are being extremely conscious about this ROI metric, which will become the selling point for the customer.
Right. No, I get that, but the only point that I'm trying to ask is, in your assessment, you don't think that a entry point, I mean, a cost point would be deterring anyone to make a purchase in the first place?
Sorry?
No, I'm saying that you don't feel that the price point is not the determinant in that sense of it. I mean,
No.
a high price point, but a better ROI will not discourage anyone from actually just buying into it, right? So,
No.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Karan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask the question. The next question is from the line of Vipul Shah from Sumangal Investment Consultants. Please go ahead.
Hi. Hello. Yeah. So I just wanted to know if we have booked some income by way.
Interrupt you. Your voice is breaking. May I request to come in a better reception
Yeah.
area?
So am I audible now?
Yes.
So we have booked some income by way of cancellation of orders. So will this income be repeated in the coming quarters?
No. This is only one time. This is a compensation for the loss of the business, and this is only one time. This is not a regular basis.
Okay. And in previously, you were giving the data of machine crank, number of machine crankshafts and unmachined crankshafts. So why you have stopped sharing those details?
You need to say on the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. It is not stopping, but we'll again add it. We'll add it there.
So if I want, should I drop you a mail, sir?
You can drop the mail, or we'll update that presentation. Okay?
Yeah. So that if you can add that part, it will be better.
Okay.
Okay. And lastly, what is the R&D run rate per annum at EMOS?
So what
R&D expenditure?
I will get back to you with an exact number on this.
If you can say any ballpark figure, it will be fine, Mr. Karan.
Should be approximately 2 to 3% at this point of time.
2 to 3% of the revenue.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, and all the best for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from Shubham Jain, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Karan, one more question I had in mind was, are we seriously looking at, there are two parts to EMOS business, right? One is the retrofitting of vehicles, and the second is, supplying the entire driveline kit to OEMs. What is the strategy forward in terms of, become a full-fledged OEM supplier, or, moving deeper into this retrofitting segment? What gives us more margins as a company, and where do we see ourselves? Because once we tie with an OEM, it becomes a long-lasting, relationship in terms of supplying driveline kits there.
Yeah, I think we will continue to do both because there is demand for both. But since the time of acquisition, we have pushed the business more towards the partnerships with OEMs and the kit supplies to OEMs, because that's the real business where we can scale, get to big volumes, get to real revenues, and have healthy margins. So the retrofits will still continue to happen. These are 1-off, 3-off, 10-off kind of vehicles, which require a lot of engineering work, lot of development costs, etc., that goes into each vehicle because every one is different. When we can start consolidating and saying that we can provide kits to a specific chassis or a specific body kind, it becomes more efficient for us.
Okay. Thanks, Karan. Thanks.
Thank you. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask the question. The next question is from the line of Sunil Jain from Nirmal Bang Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity, sir. My question again relate to more of EV business, what we are trying to do into India. So you said that ROE will drive the purchase of the customer. So considering whatever experience you have and the percentage of 60% you had done Indianization in India. So at current point of time, whether the ROE is better than the people who are already there in the market, or how it is at current point of time?
Thank you for the question, sir. I really can't give you a clear answer on this because we have only built one vehicle. The cost related to purchasing components for one vehicle is very different from when we do it at scale. So the ROI will never work when we are doing one vehicle because all costs are attached to that. We are only buying one-off components. Although they are localized, we are buying one-off or two-off at the most, right? So this will only start. I will only be able to give you a more valid or a more fair answer once we start talking about larger numbers. And I think that when we start, we are focusing on a few type of applications and not doing everything that comes to our table. And when we start looking at the LCV in a more bigger way, I think we will have a much clearer picture as to what ROIs look like, what is the selling price of the kit, how much time will it take to recover the cost, etc. So hard to answer that right now.
Okay, great, sir. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Desai from Excel Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. I joined this call.
Amit, sorry to interrupt you. You're sounding a little low. May I request you to speak a little louder?
Can you hear me now?
No.
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, better than before.
Yeah, okay. So I joined this call late, so I'm not sure if this has been answered. Regarding your talking about
can't hear you. We are losing your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, but then your voice is breaking.
Okay. Regarding your India plan, in your last call you said that you are maybe 5 years away. Any change to that, or is it likely to happen much sooner? I'm talking about EV stroke and EMOS.
No, I think if you want to look at a significant chunk of revenue coming from EV in India, I think we're still looking at 4 to 5 years away.
Okay. All right. Okay. That was the only question I had.
Thanks.
Thank you. A reminder to all the participants, press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Shubham Jain, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Karan, one more question I had with respect to India. So we have already, the EV buses coming in India with JBM Auto launching some buses, and even BYD in partnership with Electro is doing something in India. And is there some talks with the manufacturers, bus manufacturers and truck manufacturers like Ashok Leyland or probably Eicher and Tata Motors and all these guys, because you are anyway supplying to most of them from the camshaft side of business, right? in terms of starting engagements with them on, supplying EV driveline kits to LCV and MCVs, which these guys are producing in India?
No, I'm sorry. For sure we're in talk with OEMs, but I can't disclose to you with whom and what at this point of time.
Okay. And is there a possibility that if something gets fructified, your plans of launching into India can get accelerated and move ahead of time?
Yeah.
Fine, sir. Thank you, Karan.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vipul Shah from Sumangal Investments. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Can you break up your InMoS revenue into retrofitting and supply to original OEMs?
That figure we don't have. If you request, then we can send a mail and we'll give the information.
Yeah, if you can please write to us, we'll get back to you.
Okay, that is fine. But I just want to know how scalable that business is, particularly supplying driveline to OEMs. Means, can you give any ballpark figure? What will be the content per vehicle in euro or dollar?
It's very hard to define content per vehicle because every vehicle is different. If you're talking about a 50-ton vehicle, the content per vehicle is 300,000 euros. If you're talking about a small LCV, it's 10,000 euros. So it's very, very different, so hard to define. But I think what I can tell you for sure is that because of the additional businesses that we have got from OEMs, let's say the yearly revenue has increased from a mere 40 crores just 3 years ago, touching 150, 160 crores this year. So based on the current run rate. So you can see that there is a lot of traction based on these new new customers that we have.
So bulk of the growth is coming from OEM segment only, right?
Majority, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. A reminder to all the participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. As there are no further questions, I will now hand the conference over to Mr. Karan Shah for closing comments.
Thank you very much for joining this earnings call for Q2 FY22. I hope we have been able to answer most of your queries, and we do look forward to your participation in the next quarter. And we thank you again for your continued support in your company. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Precision Camshaft Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.
Thank you.